G'day, I'm Scott Newman and welcome to the launch of the new Ford S650 Mustang here in Adelaide. The Street Machine doesn't do a lot of new car launches because, let's face it, most new cars aren't that exciting, but we've made an exception for the 7th generation of Ford's iconic pony car. So we're going to be driving the GT and the EcoBoost in the Adelaide Hills, making our way out to the Bend Motorsport Park, where we've got the Dark Horse waiting for us. So we'll do some laps there, and also do some skids in the GT and the EcoBoost. So, is it any good? Stay tuned and find out. So why is Street Machine coming to the Mustang launch? Well, basically this is the last rear-wheel drive manual gearbox V8 left. So we've got to celebrate these things while we can. And speaking of, they've started me in the GT. And this is basically a GT with the works. It's got the optional Recaro seats, optional Magna Ride adaptive suspension, 6-speed manual gearbox. You can also get a 10-speed auto. It's a nicer car than the previous car. So this is basically a heavily updated S550 Mustang. It's not necessarily an all-new car, but in here there's nicer materials. It feels more premium, which is good because the price has gone up a fair bit. One of the cool things actually, whenever you get in it, you can set the digital dials to not only different modes, but they've given you the option of doing like classic dials, the Fox body Mustang dials from the 80s, or they just over the year updated this car to offer the option of the SVT Cobra dials. Might sound a bit gimmicky, but it's actually really cool and a good use of like the digital space. So we've got massive screens in here. We've got climate control in the screen, which is a bit annoying, but it's still a really comfy cruiser. Yeah, a bit of road noise, but seats are really good. Suspension's good. Manual gearbox is super easy to use. The manual feels a bit slicker than before. Clutch feels a bit smoother as well. Yeah, it's still a really nice car and a nicer car than the previous ones. Let's adjust the mode up to, what do we got? Sport here. And down this. Whoa! How's that? For a stock car, this thing sounds pretty damn good. Oh man, I mean, I kind of hate that rev match system, but it works so well. Here we go, out of the hairpin. Woo! This feels good. Strong engine. It's still got the same gearing as the previous car, which is really, really tall. We're talking like 85 in first, 130 in second. So it's a bit frustrating that on a good road like this, you don't really have much opportunity to use the gearbox. So I'm at 80 k's an hour now, and I'm only doing 4,200 revs, and it goes to 7.5. So shorter gearing would help, but you can fix that through the Ford Performance Catalogue if you really want to. You get 411 diff gears. So yeah, first impressions of the Mustang GT are pretty positive. Alright, so I've lost 4 cylinders, but I've gained a turbo and 4 gears in the auto trans. This, as far as Mustangs go, couldn't be any more different from the car I was just in. This is an EcoBoost Auto, no Magna Ride, no Recaro seats. You know what? Still a lot of fun. There's no arguing with the results. This is still a fast and fun car. It actually handles better, is maybe a little bit subjective, but it's lighter in the nose, it's more agile. It's still very quick, and this gearbox keeps this engine on the boil, on boost really, really well. Each gear is like bang, 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 bang. In a way, there's almost too many to choose from. It's almost the opposite of the V8, where the ratios are too tall. Now they're almost too short, and you're sort of going down the gears trying to get the one you want. You know, you're in 4th gear even for really tight corners. Obviously it doesn't have the noise. Sounds okay for a 4-cylinder, but it doesn't have the noise. There are going to be people that just discount this car immediately because of only having a 4, not an 8, but you know, there's a heap of tuning potential in this car if that's the way you want to go. And it's still a really fun package. It's just that I kind of wish it had a different body shell on it and they called it a Capri rather than a Mustang, because I think people would accept it a lot better with that nameplate on it. But again, if you just took the badge off this car and let people drive it, 225 kilowatt, rear wheel drive, not that heavy, there's a lot going for it. So would I have this over the V8? Probably not, but in its own right, EcoBoost Mustang more than stands up.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the Mustang launch. We're here at the Ben Motorsport Park. Today we're driving this, the Dark Horse on track, as well as the GT and the EcoBoost on the skid pan. Have a bit of fun, so it should be a great day. Before we head out on track, I'll just run you through this cool little setup they've got here of some of the modern classic Mustangs that we've seen in Australia. So let's start with over here. We've got the Mach 1. 700 of these came to Australia. This was kind of the precursor, I guess, to the Dark Horse with the Tremec gearbox from the Shelby GT350. And here we have the Bullet. Obviously, you're gonna know what a Bullet Mustang is. This didn't change much from a regular GT, but it was actually a pretty cool little package. They still look great. And here we have a pair of R-Specs. This is the first and last R-Specs ever made. You might remember this is the factory supercharged car that was done by Rob Herod. 522 kilowatts. Bit of a monster. And this is the California Special, which is one of the last S550s that was made. Got the cool GTCS badging down there. And here's a good example of how the S650 looks different. So just walk around there. See the different front end treatment. So even though it's revised styling, it does look quite a lot different. Only the doors carry over apparently. So there you go, a bit of a tour of some modern classic Mustangs, but now let's go and hit the track. Before we head out on track, I'll give you a quick tour of the Dark Horse, show you some of the things that make it different from the standard GT. Now, Aussie cars don't get the handling package as an option like that they do in the States. That gets you semi-slick tyres and bigger wheels, but our cars still look pretty good. So the wheels are 1/2 inch wider front and rear, 9.5s now at the front, 10s at the rear, but the same tyres, same 255 front, 275 rear. So you just got a bit more stretch. Here under the bonnet you can see the revised 5 litre. It's got the dual air intakes and dual throttles. Close that. V8s also have the bonnet air opening. It's a pretty good looking thing. Also bigger front anti-roll bar, revised suspension settings, Magna Ride as standard, Recaros in this very cool blue. But let me have a look in here. I'll show you some of the tech in this car. So if we go down and press that horse button, I can show you the different cluster themes. So you can just go normal, you can have it match the drive mode, sport, racetrack, calm for when you're just feeling zen. This is the cool stuff though. Classic, there you go. Same dash as obviously the first gen Mustang. Fox body, love this one. Also glows green at night once the lights are on, which is cool, like the original. And this is my favorite, SVT Cobra from 99 to 2001. Spoke about this obviously on the drive loop, but it's a small thing, but it's, I don't know, it's really cool. So we can also spin this around. The graphics behind this, the back end is what's called Unreal Engine, which is behind the latest video games and such. So that's why it's pretty swish. We've also got all the exhaust modes to choose. You can change the color. We've got track apps here. Drift brake. So down here we've got, this is actually an electronic handbrake, but it's tied so that when you activate it, you just pull this and it will lock the rear wheels like a proper hydraulic handbrake. We've also got rev matching, launch control, line lock. Wasn't originally in the S550 Mustang, but we've got it now. Acceleration and brake timers, lap timers, heaps of stuff to go into there. Heaps of stuff to play with. You can set up a custom mode, so make a custom and then change all the various configurations to your tastes. So that's a very brief run through of the tech in this car. It's pretty impressive. It's probably the biggest change that they've made. But now, let's go and drive it. Go deep.
Go deep, yeah, yeah.
Gravel. Okay, so rather than try and talk you through the Mustang while concentrating on lapping as fast as possible, we'll just do a cruise around the track now and I'll talk you through what makes this car different to the standard GT. So we went out and did some laps in the standard GT, and that car is a definite improvement on the previous car, primarily because the extra cooling means it can actually do more than like a lap and a half without going into D-rate, into basically not limp home mode, but just taking away all the power. So that car is impressive. It's actually impressive on track. You can take that car to a track, lap all day, the brakes are good, handles well, definitely handles better than the previous car. But you get into the dark horse and it's literally the first corner. You're like, okay, different kettle of fish, if you pardon the expression. You don't even have to get to a corner because this gearbox just transforms the car. It's so much shorter in the ratios. For instance, in the GT, you're probably about 6,000 RPM maybe in fourth down the main straight. This, you're well into fifth gear, probably 6,000 in fifth. You're a gear higher, basically almost everywhere in this. Corners at a second and now third and now fourth, etc. The lever needs more heft. The actual GT shift is lighter, This needs a bit of muscle to it, but it's very direct. Super easy to use with the auto rev match. Always feel like I'm cheating using the software, but it works so well. You can brake so much later, not having to worry about heel towing. But again, it does feel like cheating. Still sounds great. Obviously the power isn't really any different, but this thing feels so much faster and more urgent. Apart from the gearing, the big change is how well this car turns in. Presumably, it's probably a combination of factors. The larger front anti-roll bar, no doubt the MagneRide dampers have been tweaked to help it turn, but this car goes to an apex so much quicker than the GT. You don't have to wait at all, you can get back on the throttle so much quicker. And the advantage of that is, well, they timed us today in the various cars, so I did like a 35.3 or 35.1 or something in the GT. In the Dark Horse, 33.8. 1.5 seconds, just like that. In a car that's got the same tyres, same power, same brakes, it's all basically in the gearing and the chassis tune. It's a real shame, well, it's not a shame for the 1,000 people that have got one, but it's a real shame they haven't got more Dark Horses, because this really does feel like a special Mustang. I kind of assumed it would be just another Mark 1 with a different name, right? They did the Mac 1, the Mark 1. In the last car, had the same gearbox, had tweaked suspension, and it felt better, but it didn't feel markedly better. This car feels like a definite step on from a GT. Track, love to drive it on the road. Hopefully get a chance at some stage, because I think on the road, where the GT, you were just hanging on to gears so long. Obviously, you couldn't, like I said, you couldn't use the top end of the performance because you're out of speed limit. This, you can constantly change gears. This is a really polished package, a really, really enjoyable muscle car. All right, now we're heading out to the main straight to try out drag strip mode. I know a lot of you guys are drag racers, so basically, funnily enough, imitates the Christmas tree. So we'll just head out on the main straight and you'll see. So you set it up here. You can set up all the different variants of what you want to time. So 0 to 100, 0 to 200, 200 meters, 400 meters. We're doing 200 meters. You can do all sorts of different types. Track race lights, so your 5 lights and go. But we've got done drag race lights, which will come up, the Christmas tree will come up in the cluster. So what we do is pull it up, and then we just come to a stop, press start. And now, we've got pre-stage, press OK. When I hit stage, it'll give me a countdown, and I've got to try and get the green as quickly as possible. So, okay, then still spool it up. 1, 2, 3. There we go. This is just the EcoBoost, but pretty quick. What are we going to do? Bit of ESP coming in. Hey! 6.9, 0.86 reaction time. That's pretty rubbish still, but it's better than the practices I did. So it's coming down. But 6.99 from 0 to 200 meters. So what does that mean? Who knows? But let's jump in the GT and see what the difference between the two cars is in terms of outright performance. Right, first thing to do is probably actually just show you how to get into the timing, and we'll also activate drag mode. So just scroll through until we get drag strip mode. That basically gives a special cowl for both the MagneRide suspension, gives it a bit more squat, a bit more traction, and you'll also feel harder shifts as well. It really maximizes the car. In the S550 at least, it did make a difference, made a couple of tenths difference doing it with or without drag strip mode. So it's not just, you know, fluff. We also want to go into press the pony button. Basically press the pony button to get anything exciting in this car. Track apps, you get a stop, acceleration timer, 200 meters, drag race lights, and we just press that when we're stationary. So, what do we do? 6.99 in the Eco Boost. Let's see how we go in the GT. So we can hit start. Christmas tree will come up on the display. Hold the left foot, have my left foot on the brakes. Press OK to do pre-stage. Now when I press stage, it'll give me a countdown. See if we can get a better reaction time than the rubbish 0.86 I had. Okay, give it a bit of revs. Oh, I don't know if that was very good. Bit of wheel spin. This thing's certainly a lot brisker. There we go. There we go, not a mass, well 6.33, 0.87 reaction times, that was about the same. I need to come off the brakes earlier. But that was interesting. So in the 200 meters, it was about 7/10 faster, but it was going another 15 k's an hour. That's fair whack. That's not surprising. It's got another 100 kilowatts and whatever, but shows the difference in performance between the EcoBoost and the GT. Let's do another one.
So I will tell you, the quickest I've seen so far reaction is 0.5.
0.5 apparently. Apparently Mr. Max Gagan here.
Yeah, and then 6.02
Oh!
was what I did
Okay.
before when we did the test.
Was that with the traction control still on too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly how you've got it as you have now.
That's the race driver, see? Pre-stage. Stage. What's it gonna do? What's it gonna do? Nah, 0.64, oh, 0.84 again, I was slower. Oh well, not too bad. Something to work on. If you've got your own S650 Mustang, have a go and let us know what your best times are. You've got to beat, what was the max? 0.5 reaction time and 6.02 over 200 meters. It's good fun. It's addictive, this stuff.
It's good. You'll be having all this set up at home on every
Yeah,
touch
absolutely.
screen. Every set of lights.
Do this on the way home from work. All right, time for some fun. We've got the skid pan ahead of us and we're in a GT Auto. What I'm going to show you first is the new drift brake. So this looks like a manual handbrake, but it's connected to an electronic system and it grabs the actual brake calipers to really lock the rear wheels, not the actual handbrake caliper. So at the moment, I've just got the car in track mode. So the ESP is still on, albeit reduced, but I'm told the drift brake still works. So we're just going to go into the track apps, hit drift brake on, little skiddy symbol comes up on the display. Of course, you're not allowed to use this on the public road, just for track use only. So let's just go up to this cone, turn. There you go. Still did a handbrake turn. Let's turn off the ESP now, just hold the button. Again, don't do this on the road, it's only for track use or if you're on a skid pan. So now, pop that into manual.
Copy, James.
Hold it. I'll just pop that into manual now. We can. There we go. Woohoo! That handbrake's on demand. It works really, really well. Instantly locks the rear wheels. We can do a power slide out of it. It's more just in the timing, really. I don't think I'm getting the timing quite right, but that's okay. That's better. Is anyone ever going to use this feature? Who knows, but it's really fun to use. Now we've got a circle set up, so you know it's probably a pretty obvious answer, but does the new Mustang GT do skids? Yep. Turns out 345 kilowatt rear wheel drive V8 Mustang is pretty adept at the whole sideways thing.
I'm gonna go around a couple of laps the other way just because I can. It's right a skid pan, and it's someone else's car, it's someone else's tyres. Bit of steering, bit of throttle. Don't even have to move the steering. Look at that, you just bit of a flex with the right foot. And that holds the car there all day long. Man. What a time, I could do that all day. That's it for the Ford S650 Mustang launch. Hopefully it's given you a pretty good overview of what these cars are like, the EcoBoost, the GT, and of course the Dark Horse. Obviously it's been a heap of fun, there's been some great roads, doing some laps, doing some skids, doing some drags. Any questions or comments, let us know down below and we'll do our best to answer them. Till then, see you next time.